Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the July monthly call. This is Misty Woods, and I'll be conducting the call today. We don't have a whole lot of information to share today, a lot of repeat slides, but we do have a couple of updates that are new. So let's get started. So here's the agenda. We're going to go over some SSO reminders for those of you that were participating or participated in Seamless Summer. Just to talk about CEP for a minute, some final rule reminders that started July 1, the one update that we received from USDA, some legislative updates. We'll go over some memos, the upcoming trainings, and just some in general reminders. All right, so let's talk about SSO first. So if you intend to offer SSO beyond June 30th, so into July and August, you're going to have to submit a new application for each site that you're planning to operate during July or August, because it does start a new school year. And the 25-26 application is expected to be open late July. Our training is scheduled for July 22nd, so we're hoping to have it available for that training so that as soon as we finish the training, people can log on and start completing their application. So you would have to submit, when you submit your normal annual NSLP application, you would also submit the seamless waiver at that time. So if you normally receive severe need breakfast or your performance-based reimbursement, we call it the menu certification, then these rates will continue during your SSO operations. So during May and June, you received the 24-25 school year reimbursement rate, but if you're going to operate during July and August, you're going to receive the new school year reimbursement rates. And it's the same claiming process that's done throughout the whole year, except that SSO meals is reported under a separate line item. So it appears in light green. It's displayed on the bottom, as you can see on the slide. All right, so let's talk about CEP real quick. CEP, the elections were due yesterday in eScholar, and everyone submitted their election. So great job, everybody, doing it by the deadline. So now what we're working on is submitting our report to, like, first of all, accepting the data, and then we'll be submitting our report to USDA. And this, again, those elections was for your CEP participation for the upcoming school year. So we went over this last month, but I want to go over it again for those that were not here on the last call. And these things do become effective July 1st. So they came effective today. So the final rule established the following added sugar limits to the school lunch and breakfast program. So there's a product-based limit that has to be implemented starting next school year, so beginning July 1. Breakfast cereals may have no more than 6 grams of added sugar per dry ounce. Yogurts may have no more than 12 grams of added sugar per 6 ounces. And flavored milk may have no more than 10 grams of added sugars per 8 fluid ounces. So it also, with that final rule, it aligns the NSLP after-school snack meal pattern requirements with the CACFP snack meal pattern requirements. CACFP requires snacks to include 2 of the following 5 components. So you're going to have fluid milk, vegetables, fruits, grains, and meat alternates. The thing to note here, the grain-based desserts may not be used to meet the grains requirement, and the grain items from Exhibit A with the superscripts 3 and 4 are not creditable for the after-school snack program in NSLP. And we're going to look at Exhibit A in a couple of slides. So here is the current CACFP snack meal pattern, which will now also align and become the NSLP snack meal pattern. So again, just some things to note on here. If you serve the unflavored milk for kids 2 to 5 years old, and unflavored or flavored for children 6 and older. And then, like I just said in the last slide, the grain-based desserts cannot meet the grains requirement. So anything found on that Exhibit A, it's not creditable. And I'll show you Exhibit A, which is here. So anything in red is not creditable for after-school snacks, for NSLP after-school snacks. They cannot credit as the grain item. So the final rule also changed who can write medical statements for meal modifications. So in addition to state licensed healthcare professionals, it also permits registered dietitians to write medical statements to request meal modifications on behalf of students with disabilities in the school meal programs. And I linked the regulations that have been updated here on this slide. So also it changed with the substitution of vegetables for fruits at breakfast. We had a little bit of a little leniency this year with it, but starting July 1, schools that choose to substitute vegetables for fruit at breakfast 1 day per week may offer any vegetable, including starchy vegetable. But schools that choose to substitute vegetables for fruit at breakfast on 2 or more days per week are required to offer vegetables from at least 2 different vegetable subgroups. And I have 2 memos, USDA memos, that are linked on this slide as well if you need more information. So let's talk about Buy American. We've gone over this a couple of times already. USDA established in regulations a new threshold for school food authorities to use those exceptions on Buy American. The limit on the percent of total commercial food costs from non-domestic foods will be phased in over 7 school years. The phased-in approach is to allow schools to gradually adjust to the new requirement and allow USDA to continue to collect this data on the use of Buy American exceptions. So beginning next school year, I should say this school year, since it is July 1, the non-domestic food purchase cap will be 10%. So non-domestic food purchases must not exceed 10% of the total annual commercial cost that's outlined in federal regulations. So we talked about this as well, that exceptions tracking standard form is an optional template that school food authorities can use to document the use of the exceptions when they're purchasing non-domestic foods under this Buy American provision. It's an optional template, but it is not optional. You have to track it. So if you don't use this template, you have to track your non-domestic purchases through some type of tracking system. The link on this slide will take you to USDA website where you can find the tracking form, which is under the resources materials. And we've also added this tracking form to the CNP website. It's in the procurement section, or on the older, the new section is just the same title. And the purpose of this form is basically to track and all the costs that are related to the non-domestic product purchases. School food authorities, you're going to put in that data that's related to those products into the tab, the tracker tab, and then the exception summary tab will help you calculate its percentage of the cost from the non-domestic products within that specified time frame. A few trainings actually on the state update as well. We did go into detail on how to complete the tracker, so you can refer back to those trainings for more in-depth on how to complete it. We have asked again from USDA for further guidance, which we have not received yet, as far as to how in-depth do we go during administrative reviews, what is being looked at, what supporting documentation is needed. And again, we're just being told further guidance to come. So like we just said, you have to document the use of the exceptions to purchase these non-domestic products and be able to prove that documentation as needed. What that documentation will be is to come. You don't need any type of pre-approval or a waiver from us to use it in those exceptions. You have to track those non-domestic products. Even if you find an item that's on a non-available articles list, you still have to include it in the tracker. And so on this slide is about the memo to Buy American accommodation process for next school year. So if you feel like you need the accommodation to meet the Buy American threshold requirement, we're going to encourage you to complete and submit the SFA accommodation plan that's attached with that memo. Because we have to report to our regional offices on a quarterly basis the total number of accommodations that were requested, how many we were actually able to approve, and then the types of non-domestic food products that you're requesting the accommodation for. And again, if we receive a request for accommodation and we're able to approve that accommodation, we will have to provide some technical assistance to help support your temporary accommodation until you can demonstrate that you're able to meet the Buy American requirement. So this on the screen is what the form looks like. You're going to submit it to the main email address, so childnutritionprograms@la.gov. It's also, the form's been added to the website. We're going to review the completed request in a timely manner, and we may approve these requests. And then if we are able to approve it, we will notify you in writing. And again, we'll be able to continue to provide technical assistance to you to help you be able to meet that requirement. Because as of right now, this accommodation is only for 25-26 school year. Okay, so let's talk about the little bit of an update that we have from USDA. So as we talked about on last month, we had a town hall meeting at the end of May. We have not had another update since then. Our next regional call is not until July 24th. And we will see USDA at the national conference. Hopefully we might get some information from there as well. But we have been trying to be in contact with our regional office to get any type of update that we possibly can. So right now, as of today, we do not have the 25-26 reimbursement rates. Last year, just for reference, I believe we received them on like July 7th or 8th, something like that. So I'm expecting it about to be about the same as last year. So I'm hoping within the next week or so we will have those. We still have not received any type of prototype for free and reduced lunch applications. My suspicion to that is I feel like they haven't made an official statement regarding the non-discrimination statement yet, and obviously that application would have it on there. So I think that's probably the holdup for that, but I'm not sure. That's just a guess. We were told at the end of May that the 2025 equipment grant was coming soon. We still have not received anything from USDA regarding the equipment grant. No update on civil rights posters, and Justice for All posters. We have not received them. We were told that that's being held up in printing. We don't have, or if we have any left here at the office, they're the 2019, and we have a very, very small amount left. So if you do need to print some off the USDA's website, you can print them, but we don't have, any posters really to give at this time. The one update that we actually did get this morning was that from our regional office, and I underlined verbally for a reason, is because we were told verbally by our regional office that we can move forward with updating our forms using the all other programs non-discrimination statement that's found in the USDA website. So we are starting to update all of our forms for next year with the new non-discrimination statement that's on the USDA website, but we have not received that officially in writing. We were just told that verbally this morning. So legislative updates. So it's now complete. The 2025 legislative session is now complete. And that's just as a reminder, here at the Department of Education, Division of Nutrition Support, we can't take a stance on any of the legislation relating to child nutrition programs that happened during this session. However, we do wanted to share this information regarding the legislation that may impact school nutrition program in Louisiana. So as you can see on this slide, Senate Bill 117 is scratched out because it was vetoed by the governor on June 17th. However, Senate Bill 14 was signed into law by the governor on Friday, June 27th, and this legislation goes into effect for school year 27-28. And on the next slide is in that bill, this is the prohibited ingredients that were listed in Senate Bill 14. So pretty much your dyes and some other what they call prohibited ingredients. So again, this legislation goes into effect for school year 27-28. So we'll have more guidance to come on that the closer it gets to that. Okay, let's go over a few memos that we have to go over today. We have several to talk about. So the first one is about the non-competitive procurement processes. So this memo provides clarification on the appropriate use of non-competitive procurement methods in the operation of child nutrition programs. And these methods, such as sole source and emergency procurement, must comply with federal regulations under 2 CFR Part 200 and any other USDA FNS guidance. And this memo does supersede any previous guidance related to COVID or temporary supply chain disruptions. So the responsibilities of the program sponsors, so the SFA responsibilities are, regardless of that non-competitive procurement type discussed in the memo, the sponsor must submit and maintain written justification and documentation to the state agency for prior approval of all non-competitive procurements on the state agency form, the template form that was sent out. That's actually on the website as well. You have to ensure that the records are retained for 3 years after your final payment for it, and confirm that all procurement activities complies with federal, state, and local rules. And failure to follow proper procurement procedures may result in cost disallowance or corrective action. And again, that's in 2 CFR 200.339. So please take a look at that memo as well as the form and complete that if you need to. And we are in the process of working on some frequently asked questions and some little further guidance to help SFAs determine if and when they need to fill out that form for non-competitive procurement processes. So here is a memo about some forms and resources that were added to the CNP website. So the first form is about the equipment pre-approval form. This form is not new, it's updated. So it's updated to reflect the change in regulations. So the old form used to say that if it was an equipment, a unit cost of $5,000 or more, now regulations have been updated to say if it's a unit cost of $10,000 or more. So if the item is $10,000 or more and is not on the Louisiana pre-approved equipment list, this is whenever you need to complete this form to get pre-approval before incurring that cost. The second thing is what we just talked about, the non-competitive procurement request form. Again, this is new. It requires you to receive written approval prior to any non-competitive procurement. The purpose of it is to request state agency approval for this type of procurement. The form must be completed and submitted prior to executing that procurement. And prior approval is required to comply with state and federal regulations and to utilize child nutrition funding to pay for that said procurement. So you're going to email the completed and signed form to childnutritionprograms@la.gov. And then the last thing is the sample procurement plan for next school year. A lot of people have been asking for that. That was updated. And just a reminder that this document is a sample and it is not intended to be all-inclusive. You as the SFA are ultimately responsible to ensure that the plan complies with all the federal regulations, the state procurement code, regulations, and local procurement policies. And any plan must ensure that there are no provisions that unduly restrict competition. And please make sure that you understand that it's your responsibility to follow your written plan. So make sure that what you are actually doing is what's in your plan. This memo was about the July training. So today, July 1st, is the monthly call. And then on Tuesday, July 22nd, will be the training on the 25-26 school year online application. This memo was about the May SNAP and TANF files that were loaded. And on this, it tells you that this was the, this is the SNAP and TANF file for May, and you have the public schools batches and the non-public school batches. And if you need assistance, please email Jane. And then this is the May Medicaid free lunch and Medicaid reduced lunch. This is the one that these are the last Medicaid files for the 24-25 school year. And again, the batches for public schools and non-public schools are listed on this slide. And always please contact Jane if you need assistance. This memo was about a state attendance factor for 25-26. So attendance factors must be determined prior to the beginning of each school year. The SFA may use the annual determined state attendance factor or may calculate a custom SFA attendance factor. The attendance factor is the number found by dividing the total average daily attendance by the total enrollment. The attendance is based on the average attendance for the entire previous year or for a particular representative month from the previous school year. So for 25-26, the state attendance factor is 92.2. So make sure you go and update those in your software systems to reflect the correct attendance factor for your edit checks. So unless a custom attendance factor is requested by the SFA, the default will be the state's currently approved attendance factor with the exceptions of RCCIs, which they will have attendance factor set at 100%. So if the SFA wishes to utilize this custom SFA attendance factor, the SFA attendance factor form, which is on the CNP website, must be completed and submitted to Child Nutrition Programs at la.gov, and all documentation must be attached when submitting that SFA attendance factor. And you should start submitting those now so that when it comes time for the opening of the new application, we can get those entered into the system for you. This memo is about the reminder for school meal programs, the updated nutrition standards that were implemented July 1st. This is kind of in a nutshell of everything that we just went over. So this memo is a reminder about the updates of the school nutrition standards that will help schools encourage healthy choices that lead to healthy outcomes through National School Lunch Program and school breakfast. And so while some changes to the meal pattern requirements are phased in through school year 27-28, several changes are effective July 1. The added sugars, like we talked about, the after-school snacks, the meal modifications, substitution of vegetables for fruits at breakfast, the sodium, which currently phases in all the way to 27-28 school year, and then the Buy American. So please refer to the resources listed in that memo that are available from Team Nutrition and the Institute of Child Nutrition if you want some more resources to look at. So this memo was about the June 17th CEP elections office hours being canceled. And this memo was about the paid lunch equity tool training. We only trained on the paid lunch equity tool. We did not train on the average meal cost during that training. The guidance on the average meal cost is coming soon. We're actually having another meeting tomorrow about it. We're just trying to finalize an easier and simpler way of calculating that tool for calculating that cost for SFAs. So again, just if you can bear with us just a little bit longer, we're meeting about it again tomorrow to hopefully be able to get approved to make it easier for your average meal cost calculations. Okay, so let's talk about some upcoming trainings. So the monthly call again is today, July 1st, and the application training will be on July 22nd. The August monthly call will be on August 5th, and then the claims for reimbursement training will be on August 19th. And those trainings are normally posted about a month in advance. So when you see them on Louisiana Fit Kids, make sure you go ahead and register for those. So a lot of people have requested back to school trainings, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But a lot of people have to do back to school trainings on their own, and they have to review civil rights and offer versus serve as those are required, or if you do offer versus serve, it's required. But everybody has to have civil rights training. So what we're doing this year is we will have the civil rights training and offer versus serve training, recording, and slides, and we're going to have them posted to Louisiana Fit Kids sometime in July, to where at any point you can log on there or you can look at it and you can play that recording for your back to school trainings or with your staff, to where it's not necessarily you speaking, but it will be a recording from us so that you can just play it for them to meet the training requirements. So in-person manager training. So we just finished the virtual manager training last week, and they had a very good outcome for that. The in-person training will be July 28th through the 30th. This does have a cost associated with it. It's $75, and it's limited to 40 people. It will be at Pennington. Last I checked, I think we had 30 people, so it's almost full. So if you have not registered yet and want to attend that training, please go and register on Louisiana Fit Kids to ensure you get a spot. Make sure that if you are planning to register, you need to have your own email address. They have to have a laptop computer to take the assessment quiz, and then they will be proctored by either LDOE or Pennington staff. Again, you can register on Louisiana Fit Kids for this training. So for back to school trainings, we are offering a limited number of back to school trainings. Again, you can send those requests to the main email address. Please specify the date, time, and location. And we're only going to be offering civil rights and offer versus serve. We have received quite a few, and we are still receiving them. So what we're in the process of doing is we're trying to fill the schedule that we have now with the ones that we've already received in the order that we received them. And LDOE staff will be in touch with you soon. If you did request, we're hoping to fill, to accommodate all the ones that we received so far. But if we receive a whole lot more, I can't guarantee we'll be able to get every single one in. But again, staff will be in contact with you soon if you did request back to school training. Let's go over a few reminders. So for those of you that had the equipment grant for 2024, we actually had a little bit money left. So we went to who was next on the list. And so we did a second allocation. And those second allocations, I think it was like 4 that were sent out. So the purchase order or invoice and online request for funding has to be received by August 13th. It is a quick turnaround for the second allocation. So if you did receive an award email, that would have went out on June 13th. And again, so it's going to be due by August 13th for those of you that received an award for the second allocation. And again, we're just waiting to find out about the 2025 grant. We have not received anything yet. And then just another reminder about the fresh fruit and vegetable program. Fresh fruit and vegetable, if you are participating in the fresh fruit and vegetable program, the allocation period is October 1st through September 30th. However, we always strongly encourage SFAs to aim to have their fresh fruit and vegetable money spent by the end of the school year, because if not, then you have to renew it on the app for when they submit your new application for the 25-26 school year. Okay, told y'all we didn't have much on the agenda for today. I'll open it up for questions. Let me look at the chat. I am being told that registration for the manager training in person is now closed. So if anybody was still hoping to register, right now it is now closed. I have a question about what is exactly be considered non-competitive procurement. Please refer to that memo as it explains exactly what non-competitive procurement is. If you have more specific questions, you can reach out to us. I have a request to go back to the slide about the non-discrimination statement. I do have the link on here for the USDA website. Let me go back. And yes, on that USDA website, on that link, when you click on there, it's going to have two. It's going to show SNAP non-discrimination statement and all other programs non-discrimination statement. We're going to be using all other programs non-discrimination statement. Again, we were just told verbally by our regional office that we can go ahead and update the forms, but national office has not officially sent out any guidance as to exactly what to do about the non-discrimination statement. So I'm being told that that is being discussed at the national conference in 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks during our state agency USDA update. So I'm hoping we may have more official guidance by then, but as of now, that's what we were told this morning. This is the list of the memo. Somebody's asking for the name of the memo for non-competitive procurement. It's called non-competitive procurement processes. Someone's asking for the exact non-discrimination statement. Again, if you click on the link that's going to be on that slide, it sends you directly to USDA's website that you can get it. Now, I will say this, the long version and the short version changed. And I did not put it purposely on this slide because on any of the slides, it's because we were only told verbally. We have not received any official. I'm sorry, yeah, my screen share stopped, but we did not receive any official in writing. We were only told verbally, so that's why I'm directing people to the USDA's website. I am not seeing any more in the chat. So with that, I will end today's call. Again, if you have any questions, you can always call us or email us. And as soon as we receive any guidance that we get from USDA, we will definitely let you know. Hope I'm being told to wait. Someone else have an additional question? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Jolene. You said the non-discrimination statement has a link for the USDA form. I would have to go back and look. I'm not exactly sure what form you're referring to. I'll have to get back in touch with you about that one, Jolene. Make sure I understand what you're asking. I'll have to go look. Again, we found out just this morning, and that's when they brought us to this link. So we have to investigate more. Oh, possibly. Yeah, those forms will have to be updated as well. All of our forms are being updated for formal complaints, civil rights complaints. Okay, I'm not seeing any more. So again, just email us and whatever we can provide at that time that we have, we will provide to you. All right, thank you, everyone.